is something that you've been interested in and supportive of. In fact, one can pay for a tour on Virgin Galactic up to the moon with Bitcoin. I think the Winklevoss twins have said that they would do exactly that. You think this is a currency that's really going to work eventually?
Well, I think it is working, and there will be other currencies like it that may be even better. But in the meantime, there's a big industry around Bitcoin, and you know, people have made fortunes out of Bitcoin. Some people have lost money out of Bitcoin.
It's volatile. It's volatile.
Yeah, but it is quite volatile. But you know, when in volatility, people can make money out of volatile situations.
Why was it important for you to give it sort of that stamp of approval, that endorsement, by saying to the Winklevoss twins, yes, you can pay for the ride with Bitcoin?
Because I'm not foolish. I mean, if people have got lots of Bitcoins and they want to go to space, I'd much rather they spent that money on our spaceship. Whether I keep it in Bitcoins is another matter. But I'd much rather they spent that money on a Virgin Galactic spaceship than on, you know, Elon will be sending people to space one day on Elon's spaceship. So we'll grab the money while it's there.
Elon versus Richard. When will people be able to go to space?
Well, it's been tough. Getting the rockets finished has been tougher than we thought. But when we were building two separate rockets, both came good 2 months ago. Since the spaceship is ready, the mothership's ready, the spaceport's ready, now the rockets are finished. We're now, over the next 2 months, we'll start our aerial flights and then our flights into space. So early next year, we'll finally be up and away.
It's exciting stuff.
The need to move money from place to place, the cost of doing so, the overhead, as you put it, makes me think, believe it or not, of Bitcoin, because some people have said, hey, Bitcoin is the answer to those problems. Are you a believer?
Well, Bitcoin is exciting because it shows how cheap it can be. Bitcoin is better than currency in that you don't have to be physically in the same place, and of course for large transactions currency can get pretty inconvenient. The customers we're talking about aren't trying to be anonymous. You know, they're willing to be known. So the Bitcoin technology is key, and you could add to it or you could build a similar technology where there's enough attribution that people feel comfortable. This has nothing to do with terrorism or any type of money laundering.
Interesting comments today here at the BitCon about what's happening in China. Of course, we know about the crackdown on initial coin offerings and also the crackdown on exchanges. Now you're saying some CEOs of Chinese Bitcoin companies can't travel. What are you hearing on the ground about the state of disruption right now?
Within China, everything is extremely uncertain. Any officer of any cryptocurrency exchange in China may not leave. Okay, they're not being arrested at the airport, but they've been told privately that they should stay in Beijing. The rest of the world is in chaos, of course, because no one knows what's coming next. I mean, are they going to ban mining? That would be extremely disruptive to the Chinese economy and to the world.
A lot of the Bitcoin mines globally are in China.
Well, the largest is in China. It's owned by Jihong Wu. You know, tens of thousands of machines mining 24 hours a day. And those coins are staying in China. So I do not think that will happen. And I truly believe that the Chinese government is a very rational government, and in the long run will come back and legalize ICOs with certain legislative restraints that will legalize exchanges, again, with controls. Because what's happened, people have taken advantage of China. People would come over and do ICOs in China, promising 1,000% return in a week. Okay, well, please, you can't do that. And so it was making everybody look bad. So I think in the long run, it's very good for the cryptocurrency community.
But do you think there will be too much regulation? Are more governments going to over-regulate and crack down? Because you've heard all the arguments. There's no intrinsic value, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, well, of course they will. But this will be a seesaw effect. Because when legislation is enacted, people will get around it. We're talking about a decentralized world, a decentralized process where peer-to-peer activity is common. You cannot legislate that. Well, you can, but then how are you going to enforce it? You'd have to have an enforcer in everybody's home. Well, we can't do that. So yes, they will enact legislation. People will get around it. More legislation will be enacted. People will get around it. But in the end, governments will lose because the power of this technology supersedes and is way above the power of centralized government.
Now, I know you're on record as saying you expect significantly higher prices. We saw this dip after the China crackdown,
right,
but it's already coming back.
It's already come
up.
back to 4,000. Okay, it was at 4,000, and it was not just China. It was Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan.
Well, he
who
called
said
it
a fraud.
Fraud.
Right? Well, I went on right after him and said, please, sir, wake up. Which is the fraud? Because it cost my company over $1,000 to create a Bitcoin. What does it cost to create a $100 bill? Please, your account's going to be $20,000.
Do you see Hong Kong playing a significant role now that China is not necessarily playing in the game at this point? Hong Kong, a lot of cryptocurrency companies have started up here.
Well, here's the problem with Hong Kong. It is still legally part of China, all right? And while China has had difficulty integrating it, if they choose, they could step here and collect me and everybody here. So I think Hong Kong, too close to China. I think we need Switzerland, India, the Philippines, reasonable places. The world is a large place.
Bitcoin and things like it is the equivalent of the red pill. Okay? We are entering a completely world of uncharted water right now.
Have you made any investments in Bitcoin?
So, I mean, I own Bitcoin in my hedge fund. I own Bitcoin in my fund. I own Bitcoin in my private account. It is a huge deal. It's a huge, huge, huge deal. Because what you're talking about right now is for the next 3 to 5 years, an unbelievably better store value. It is gold 2.0.
Bitcoin, there is no Bitcoin company. There is no Bitcoin building. There's not even a Bitcoin server anywhere that you could shut down. It is completely distributed. That's what's unique about Bitcoin. It is, for the first time, a way for the two of us to exchange value online without a third-party intermediary. Until the invention of Bitcoin, for you and me to exchange money online, we had to employ a third party, like PayPal, like Visa, like MasterCard, right? And we live in the 21st century. If we want to have a video call to China, we can do that for free. But to send a couple $100, which is essentially just ones and zeros being moved around, costs 5% plus